this afternoon. And our first pair that we're going to hear from: David Macaulay, Deputy Rector at Dunfermline High School, and Brenna Heenan, who's the School College Partnership Coordinator at Fife College. So I will hand over to them to help us in this next bit. Thank you.
Thanks, folks. I'm just going to confirm that you can hear me at the minute before I share my screen. Probably the most daunting part of this. So I'm hopeful that you should be able to see the PowerPoint just now. Sorry, I can't see anybody, so anyone could just let me know.
Yes, I can see it, David.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You, so it's looking good.
Right, good start. Thank you. Well, first of all, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you to Camilla and the team at the SCQF Partnership for the invitation this evening. I've attended quite a few of these online over the past few years and found them really useful, so I'm hopeful that we can share something that will help at least one person this evening. So as mentioned, my name is David Macaulay. I am the Deputy Head Teacher at Dunfermline High School in Fife, and I'm delighted that my colleague from Fife College, Brenda Heenan, is here with us tonight as well. So I was asked just to share a little bit about our partnership work with the college and our school. So I'm going to highlight 3 key areas this afternoon. And before I do so, I'm just going to highlight a wee bit of our school context and the rationale for the steps that we've taken. So we're based in West Fife, and our school roll is just under 1,400 learners. Those of you who are familiar with Fife may be familiar with the term of a DAS unit. That's our Department of Additional Support. And within that, we have 43 learners, and these are pupils with the most profound and significant additional support needs. And I'll come on to the significance of that later on. As you can see, I hope from our SIMD chart, we have quite a heavy weighting of pupils towards the kind of upper ends of SIMD 8, 9, and in particular 10. We have a recognised ASN in the school of 43%, and a free school meal allowance of 12.4%. So both of those are slightly below the national average. Our attendance figures for last session dropped ever so slightly by about 1% to 89%, and that's also something to consider, as that became one of our priority areas for this session, looking at improving our school attendance figures. In terms of rationale for the Schools College Partnership, we have an exceptionally new and an incredibly advanced campus in Dunfermline, belonging to Fife College, just 2.5 miles away. Now, whilst that certainly helps with transportation, it's obviously not the sole reason for our rationale and the work with the college. Part of my role, and indeed part of the role of all staff at our school over the last few sessions, has really focused on expanding our curriculum to target gaps that we've identified based on evidence and indeed learner needs within our own context at the school. One thing that I wanted to highlight this evening was that our labour market index shows a few areas in particular with the greatest requirement and potential for growth, namely areas of hospitality, construction, engineering and health and social care. And actually, when we did a bit of a review of our curriculum, we realised that we perhaps weren't really meeting the needs of all learners with regards to skills development and opportunity for success within these areas. And we really wanted to target that in order to support transition into positive destinations. In terms of our leaver information, apologies because I'm aware that the table is a wee bit small to read, but I'll hopefully kind of highlight the headline figures. Over half of our leavers go into higher education. So you may be forgiven for targeting the kind of the upper tiering pupils, but we also take cognizance of the fact that 20% and a similar number again go into employment and further education. So really we were challenging ourselves to think about what can we provide for all learners with that information at hand, and also looking at the place of vocational offer in the school. So again, that idea that pupils go into further education and indeed employment to ensure that their needs were met. So the first of the theories that I'd like to speak about tonight is indeed the Schools College Partnership offer. We target pupils in S4 for this. There are S5 and S6 options available. And at present, we look at 1-year course offers, and that's something that we're going to develop over the next few sessions. But in particular, looking at those pupils in S4, because we know we have them for at least another year with us, and to make sure that they get something from their fourth year that's meaningful and indeed meets their needs. Fundamentally, we've built this into our timetable, so we don't look at this as an add-on, and as such, I work with my colleague who has the joy of being our school timetabler, so that Monday and Wednesday afternoons are almost blocked out for pupils in order to attend Fife College without missing too much of their other education. I'm not going to go over in huge depth the courses on offer, because I'm going to ask Brenda just to have a wee bit of an input in that in a moment. But we have targeted the key areas highlighted in the previous slides. So we have skills for work and foundation apprenticeships on offer within the areas of engineering and construction craft, as well as looking at pathways to early learning. I wanted to highlight the Introduction to Hair and Beauty course, as well as that was an area that we identified within our cohort that we had an absence really, so that's why that offer is there as well. And the final, although not exclusively, ending of those options were the next steps courses. So that's to assist pupils access to further education through skills building and skills for life courses as well. We work kind of hand in hand with the college with regards to monitoring attendance. We receive weekly updates in terms of pupil attendance, and one of my colleagues has the role of kind of checking in and making sure that pupils are attending. If for any reason there is a concern, then we contact home, we speak with the pupils to make sure that we can ensure that attendance remains positive and offer any supports to ensure that pupils attend each session. We have registered really positive levels of attainment. And I spoke at the start about one of our targets being to raise attendance. You know, pupils are telling us, and I'll show a few pupil testimonies in a moment, that they're really enjoying it. So that's helped with their attendance figures. In terms of a positive transition and indeed a positive destination, the college has really helped us maintain a relatively positive trend over the past 3-4 years. With 98.3% of our learners in a positive destination. I'll bring up a couple of pupil testimonies and then maybe just ask Brenda, if you're okay to come off mute just to add a wee bit as well. But two things that jumped out at me from the pupil testimonies that we had. One was the enjoyment from pupils, and it was mentioned at the start about, you know, drop-off rates and pupils not having that positive experience. The college courses have really been able to offer us an opportunity for pupils to develop in a really enjoyable and engaging manner, something that's allowed pupils to explore a route for them after school that they see as meaningful. And the second area was a skills development, you know, in a more practical environment, focused on vocational skills, but people spoke really, really highly of that. So I'll leave those testimonies up. Brenda, I'm not sure if you wanted to come in just a wee bit of information about the courses and how you found pupil engagement with that.
Yeah, surely. So obviously, Fife College and the schools, we do have a school college partnership offer. The individual high schools can, you know, they can choose which courses complement their high school offer. So not all schools take all courses, even though there'll be a larger offer available. I think over the years, the young people, yes, these are positive, and I think that's what makes the difference. They come to college and possibly they get that experience of a bit more practical. Often they are slightly horrified. There's still a theory element to even the most fun courses. But hopefully, you know, they can see where their school subjects are leading them. And I think where we try to ensure is that we are always encouraging them to keep up with their maths and their English to help their progression, so that if they change their mind, and this is what we say, you know, further down the line in a few years, they've still got these good qualifications to help them to get into other courses at college. So working very much with a high school in terms of, you know, reaffirming what they're doing, where they want to go at the minute, but what that might look like in a few years' time. We do like to discuss with the high schools the courses. So at the moment, we are planning the offer for 26-27 for discussion with high schools. Looking at the foundation apprenticeships, where do they sit? What are the young people? In Fife, for the last couple of years, the schools refer the young people to school college partnership. So that was quite a change for us. We do have some criteria that's to be met, but the schools a few years ago felt that they obviously knew the young people and their backgrounds so much better than them, you know, that one day they might come into college for an interview and they'd be really nervous, maybe not show themselves. So we do a lot of work. We have quite a long process of recruitment where we share information, we'll meet young people as required, hold information days before they get started, which I think has helped the young people settle into their school college partnership a bit more. School are highly involved rather than that one day they come in and interviewed by us and then go away and wait to be heard. In terms of attainment, we're seeing a slight increase in the achievement through that process, and we will keep to monitor that. I think for us as a college, obviously this financial climate is very difficult in terms of the flexibility we would have had in previous years, but we've recognised that for some young people, schools are possibly looking at a bit more experiential opportunities for young people rather than courses, and where they might be on a chosen path at the beginning of S4 or above, and then life happens in the middle of that, and their life, you know, takes a different turn. And looking at opportunities where we can get interventions in with the school to just make them aware and see what opportunities are out there. Obviously, we do work very closely with the education and Fife on the Ops for All, Opportunities for All, and looking at how the college can work with the schools at early interventions or post-school.
I've seen when people come in, it happens all the time. Hang on. Sorry.
Oh, and really that's kind of an overview. Always just discussing it as an ever-changing field. The requirements of young people is always changing, and just making sure that we can offer opportunities. Obviously, we are excited by our new campus, and then looking at how we engage with schools early on that, and letting young people see what's available. Okay.
Thanks for that, Brenda. Appreciate that. I'm going to touch on just two more areas where we formed a link with the college, and these will be a wee bit briefer before leaving time for some questions. The first is a subject-specific link that's been created within our PE department and Fife College. For a bit of context, we are relatively close to Dunfermline Rugby Club, and our Rugby Development Officer has worked really closely with the PE department over the last 3 years. In fact, has been delivering rugby for every core class in that time. As such, that there was opportunity for progression for pupils in S3 and S4, and one of the members of staff in the PE department reached out to Fife College, and alongside the Scottish Rugby Union have introduced the Developing Player programme. Now, this is something that is timetabled, it's within our curriculum. We've got about approximately 50 pupils taking part in our School of Rugby now, who attend twice weekly sessions. Throughout that, there's opportunities for pupils to attain a number of qualifications, including a Level 5 Wellbeing Award and 3 freestanding Level 4 or Level 5 units. And I've put them on the screen for you just now: circuit training, resistance training, and sporting activity, participation and performance. So there's a real collaborative approach with regards to delivery there, but there's also somewhat of a rationale. We noticed over the past 2 or 3 years, we had pupils within physical education who were attaining a Level 5 qualification, and it was maybe one of their only or one of few Level 5 qualifications that they were getting, but they showed an interest in continuing study further, but had maybe wanted to look outside of Dunfermline High School. And Fife College offer HNC in sports coaching, and HNC in fitness, health and exercise, and it's that second course in particular where there's really quite a close link between what's now being delivered through the subject specific link and that destination opportunity for pupils. Finally, I mentioned right at the start when I was speaking about our school context that we have a department of additional support at Dunfermline High School, and those pupils within the department of additional support have quite complex and profound additional support needs. They are a fantastic addition to our school, and we want to really support all our learners at Dunfermline High School into a positive destination. And as such, we have a link with Fife College where pupils attend twice weekly. So on a Tuesday and Thursday, pupils were out this morning to complete supported courses over 3 levels based on ability. And they are delivered in collaboration, and again in conjunction with staff at Dunfermline High School and staff from Fife College. And there's a real focus on transition opportunities for pupils when their time at Dunfermline High School comes to an end, which is why the next steps courses that highlighted are so important for us to allow that transition to happen. It would be remiss of me to finish without kind of highlighting a few next steps for us, because I realise I'm speaking to a large group of people here who have experience working in similar situations and will have really excellent opportunities and examples to share. And Brenda mentioned a couple of these during her input, in the sense that we had a meeting actually pre-summer to organise and to shape timelines to try and make sure that earlier opportunity to liaise and share information helped with regards to demand for courses and indeed sharing of pupil numbers. That will help us with our first bullet point there, which is to continue to explore our curriculum offer based on all the available evidence that we have to ensure positive destinations for pupils and indeed to target pupil needs. And very recently we have begun an approach to try and identify appropriate foundationship apprenticeships. So you realise that we offer the year course already, but we're aware that there are more courses on offer, and indeed the 2-year options that we're hoping to investigate. So folks, just to sum up, I appreciate it may be easier to follow up with questions. Maybe a richer conversation will follow the session, but I'm more than happy to take any queries just now. I've left my email up there just now, but again, I'm happy to share that in the chat box, and I'll stop sharing my screen just now.
Great. Thank you very much, David. Brenda, that was a great introduction and some really key points I think you drew out there. So we do have a few minutes for any questions. If you would like to ask, if you're able to raise your hand, I will try and spot you on the different screens that are in front of me. Is there any immediate questions that people want to ask around this particular one? And so Fiona, yes, Fiona, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, it's a question for David, really. It was really just to ask, how do the parents react to this offer of a college offering? Because obviously I know my daughter did a placement with a college and she was delighted and we were delighted, but I just wonder how parents think about it. I always hear how, it's a great opportunity, but I just wonder if parents see it like that or if they have some intrepidation about it.
No, I think you've kind of hit the nail on the head there, Fiona. Our parents have been overwhelmingly supportive of it. In fact, we have parents kind of, earlier on, even S2, S3 stage, asking about options. And I touched upon it a wee bit there in terms of our curriculum offer. We're going through quite an in-depth process, as we are nationally at reviewing our curriculum. And we identify the need for more skills-based opportunities, more vocational-based opportunities. So actually, we sometimes have the opposite, in that we've got parents kind of clamouring for a space, and we're working really hard with Brenda to make sure that we have available spaces. So I can only share a positive feedback from our parents and carers.
Well, that's good to hear. Thanks for that.
Great, thanks, Fiona. Any other question for this session? Otherwise, I will introduce the next double act that are going to share about school-college partnerships and their experience, and then we could have another opportunity for questions after that. And so I'm going to introduce Tori McMaster, who's the Deputy Head Teacher at Bowness Academy, and Gregor McGilvray, who's a lecturer in horticulture at Shrewsbury, Scotland's Rural College. And so over to yourselves to share your experiences, and then we'll take some more questions. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm just going to try and share this now. Right. Hopefully you can see this okay.
Yes, we can, or I can. So yeah, it's looking good.
Perfect. So I'm Tori McMaster. I'm Deputy Head Teacher at Bowness Academy, and I joined just, this is me starting my 3rd year now at Bowness. We're a school of 850 young people, and we would actually be deemed really as a rural school, which I know is quite surprising, and it probably wasn't something I particularly was aware of until coming to Bowness. The lack of transport for young people, and I see Kim Reed's on the call and she can testify for this, the lack of transport to try and get young people to and from college is really a big challenge for us. But we are lucky that Oak Ridge has a direct bus from Linlithgow, which again is a wee bit of a challenge for young people to get to, but we have been very lucky that we have a school minibus which transports the kids up to Oak Ridge. How this kind of came around was the curriculum wasn't fit for purpose. And I would say probably a lot of schools will come and say that right now. We have a real need for young people to have more vocational subjects within the curriculum. And unfortunately, schools are just not in a position to be able to offer the amount that the colleges are. And that's why we're seeing quite a high demand of young people going to Forth Valley College to take up qualifications in welding, etc. And other construction, because we as a school are not in a position to offer that. We don't have the staff, we don't have the skill set or equipment. And that's why I think the school partnership programs are a really excellent opportunity for young people to find out a wee bit more about college. And it's also that small test of change for them to find out what college life is like, because it is so different to a school setting and how it's developing those skills for independence. We have a number of young people who are very practical and love being outdoors. We also have a number of young people who are from farming communities as well. So again, they struggle with kind of more like literacy based tasks and are more practical abled. And again, school curriculums are just not meeting those needs. So Gregor came along to our careers fair. We got chatting just over 18 months ago, and we scoped out the idea of an opportunity to do a schools partnership programme. This had never been done by Oak Ridge before. And bless Gregor, he's an absolute saint. So he is. He's amazing with these young people. And ultimately, these young people have gone out and they have looked at a number of courses which are available for them. And we agreed on the rural skills, and it's a level 4 that the young people have completed. And it's really provided the young people a landscape to carry out real and meaningful projects in horticulture and landscaping and developing their abilities. Not only that, the difference in these young people from these courses has been absolutely phenomenal. Their relationships with staff have improved, their attendance has improved, and so much so these are young people who previously wouldn't have stood up in front of anybody and spoken, and yet they've now shown up at our attainment meetings at council level to talk about their experiences at Oak Ridge. And again, these were young people who previously wouldn't have received awards at award ceremonies, different things like that. Parents hadn't really been up at the school to celebrate their success, and yet they were invited along to a graduation ceremony at Oak Ridge. And that actually was an incredible experience for the young people and their parents. And some of the parents have given us kind of testimonials about this project and said, you know, I really felt that my child was listened to. He was seen for his abilities, he was seen for his capabilities. And I never thought I would ever see the day where he would graduate from a college. So again, that opportunity for him to be recognised in that was absolutely huge. And I think, you know, all learning does matter. And whatever way it happens and takes place. So, as I said, we ran this wee bit of background, and they've been able to get qualifications. The young people who were on the course last year have now come back, and they are now mentoring this year's S3 and S4 students who are on the course. So again, there's progression there for them, and they are now getting other qualifications such as volunteering, leadership, etc. So we've tried to package this up that their journey doesn't really maybe stop with Oakridge, but they are actually completing work experience placements with Gregor, and I know he'll come on and talk about that and the projects that they do up there, because they do things like bricklaying and mono blocking, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know what that is, because I have absolutely no idea, but Gregor will come in and talk about that. So as I said, this year we've actually opened it up to S3 pupils as well, not just our S4. And as I said, they are going on their mentoring. You'll see them there on the tractors, doing some of the mono blocking, the bricklaying. There is a classroom environment still for them to complete some of the kind of written tasks that they need to be completed. But this is growing arms and legs for us now, because we're now working with Sustainable Thinking Scotland, which is based in Kinneil Estate. And the boys from the course are going down on a Monday, and they're heavily involved, and the skills that they have developed through that, they have been able to transfer down into STS. From that now, they have been picking fruits, etc. From down at Kinneil. They've been bringing it back up to the school and running an enterprise project. They've been planting their own products such as carrots and potatoes, and the plan is that will then feed into the RHE department for sustainability. But the boys who have picked the berries have created their own business called Jamtastic, and they have been selling jams and chutneys now at careers events, parents' evenings. They've been coming on the tannoys at school. They even sold the Director of Education a few jam jars during the attainment meeting. So they've turned into right little entrepreneurs, and it has been completely down to the partnership with Oakridge. So I'll pass over to Gregor, and he can tell you a wee bit more about that.
Yes. So I've just got a few notes jotted down to tell you a little bit about from our point of view. So I'm Gregor, I'm one of the lecturers, the story says, at SRUC Oakridge campus. It's at the back of Uphall or near Livingston, if your Scottish geography isn't that great. So we deliver the Skills for Work Rural Skills programme, which is made up of 5 units. So it's estate maintenance, land-based industries, crop production, employability skills for land-based, and soft landscaping. I suppose the biggest thing is the pupils are out of their familiar environment when they come to us. They're no longer pardon my term here, the big boys of the class. They're now in amongst some of our older student body, some of them from agriculture background, some of them from agricultural engineering background. They're, not to put too fine a point of it, they're a bit rough and tough and not scared to put these young laddies in their place in a nice way, in a positive way. I suppose the biggest thing again is we have a very informal approach. There's a member of staff comes from Bowness Academy, Tony, with the young people, and he works along with them in the class, and he spends an awful lot of his time on the pastoral care side of things while he's working along with them. And I've got to be honest, it's quite amazing what these young people will let go while they've been in this sort of informal background. And it's quite heartwarming when they sort of turn to you and say, why do you care so much? Why are you asking how I am today? You know, and a lot of these, I think a lot of these young people really haven't had anybody ask them how they are very much. And it's been quite amazing what they have been coming away with. And some of it's been followed up back at the school, and some of it Tony has dealt with in an informal manner. And he deserves an award for the way he is towards these young people. I really take my hat off to him. So anyway, about what they do when they come to college, this year we've been doing a project at the back of our landscaping workshop where the young people have been building a new path. Now that might not seem, oh God, building a path, but there's an awful lot in there. There's a lot of the meta skills getting hidden in there. And these young people don't realise that they are collaborating with each other, they're working as a team, they've, you know, better than me, the sort of meta skills that's all in there. We're hiding a lot of the essential skills in there as well. So when they've been measuring up how long this path is for materials, all this sort of stuff, all the sort of core skills that they would sort of not engage with at school, because it's been done in such an informal manner. They have really taken to this, and without much complaint, I'll say. We've been using a wide range of tools and equipment. They've been producing quite a lot of produce and they've realised that all the sort of produce doesn't turn up in a supermarket nice and polished in a paper bag, that it does come out the ground and is a wee bit dirty, and you might need to wash it and you might get a little bit dirty harvesting it. And we've done an apple tasting afternoon where they tasted a lot of apples and realised that it wasn't just one variety in whatever supermarket they go to, that there is quite a lot of them. And amazingly enough, 2 or 3 of them hadn't even tasted an apple, which was quite surprising to us. And we've got a couple of converts, so we'll say. We've integrated with quite a lot of different departments. Because we're a specialist land-based college, we've got an equine department, we've got our own golf course, we've got engineers, and the young people have been going up and doing work alongside some of the other members of staff there. And again, that's opening their eyes to the opportunities that's there. And just as well as, I think, as important as it is that they realise the opportunities, it's equally important that they realise that stuff that they don't want to do. So when we go up to the farm and they realise they're going to get a bit dirty, they might need to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, it might affect their social life. That sort of industry is fairly quickly discounted as, wait a minute, I'm going to have to get dirty, I'm going to have to get up early in the morning. That's a non-starter. But I suppose the biggest thing is seeing the sense of achievement on these young people. As Tori mentioned earlier on, a lot of these people haven't achieved very much in their life. So even something simple like taking a big tree stump out, or something like that, you know, something as you and I would see as sort of a fairly menial, boring task. The fact that they've managed to achieve that, the sense of achievement was quite something to see. As Tori mentioned earlier on, we invited the young people and their parents up to our prize day. And again, I think Tori would agree with me, it kind of took the pupils and their parents out of their comfort zone. And yeah, there was a few things appeared in my eye that afternoon. I don't know what it was, but it was quite something to see. Very proud of these young people and the distance they have come. That's all I've got to say. If you've got any questions, I'm more than happy to answer anything.
That's great. Thank you so much to you both. And again, there was some great stuff in there, and really good to see that solid partnership really bearing fruit, and never mind jam selling. That's great. I'll open it up to questions again. for any of the presenters. So has anybody got a question they want to ask at this point? You can indicate in the usual way. Any? Well, oh, we got Paula. Yeah, Paula, would you like to ask your question?
Hi, Andy. Not so much a question, but just great stuff and just an observation from me just in that last presentation. I've been working closely with Klaus Meyer on his sort of land-based agriculture sort of discussion, how do we get folk into it? So it just feeds into that broader sort of conversation. So I'm fascinated by that. I genuinely want to sign up for these programs myself, but they won't let me do it. But yeah, keeping that conversation going and what's happening at schools, how it's been responded to, you know, the things that are on offer, I think are really, really important. So yeah, I'll certainly make sure I'm passing this conversation back, if you like, into some of the groups that I'm on, as we look at trying to get more people into sort of land-based agriculture and seeing the crossover and cross-transferable skills that actually meet some of the shortages and national priorities around that. So no, it's great stuff, really exciting.
Yeah, no, thanks, Paula. Yeah, I think that whole bit of the value on the pupils and also looking to deal with skill shortages and gaps as well is really key, and the linkage in of the two really struck me. I think there was just a wee chat there. Yeah, no, I think there's a lot to thanks. There's a lot to take away from today, really, in it. I mean, it struck me that we talked about pupils, we talked about parents and the economy, and actually both presentations touched on that, which I thought was really interesting, and both mentioned the parents and the importance of it, and we know from lots of studies that it's not just about the choice of the individual pupil has a big impact on the choices they make, but the parents as well. And I think where you've got many different routes and that complexity of routes and choices that pupils have these days, then it's really important that the parents are involved in that as well. So I thought that was really interesting that both presentations mentioned that, and just that sense of experience of the graduation and being able to see a future there, doing something that maybe they hadn't thought they would ever be doing. And I think it was in the Dunfermline 5 presentation where they talked about seeing where the school subjects could lead them, and I think it's that a real great element of the school college partnership is that being able to give a sense to learning, is to get an idea of where that could take you, could see that there's a future there. For everybody and for those that it's required to, and I also heard a lot about the skill gaps and the economy, and the importance that I think these school college partnerships do for making sure that we're trying to skill up people in those areas where maybe the schools haven't got the ability to do that, but know that it's an important area, or the skill gaps. To me, all of that talks about maturity of relationship, which I think is really key, and that came through, as I mentioned earlier, those the CDN report back in 2021, looking at the sort of successful characteristics of school college partnership, and it is that common vision, it's that collaboration, it's that maturity of discussion to actually say, well, what's actually best for the pupils, what's best for them to help them. I thought they were really good. So I really enjoyed both presentations. I'm going to pause to see if there's any questions that people have either thought of now or wish to ask, or you know, or maybe you disagree with something I've said. Let's get a discussion going. Anybody want to ask a question or say anything at this stage? Fiona, Fiona, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Gregor and Tori, when you mentioned it started off as sort of finding something for the pupils to do that was suitable for the rural environment they lived in. But then once you'd done that, the pupils and obviously the school and the college have fostered this sense of entrepreneurship and developing new skills. And Gregor, you touched upon the pupils getting to meet older, more mature students, and I bet there was a lot of banter went on there, but it would be light-hearted banter from both, and they would both. I know that in the institution that I worked in, we had quite a lot of mature learners and younger students, and they always learned so much from each other. It's always a great environment. I think both sets of learners really enjoy that sort of interaction with each other. It creates a great learning environment for everyone. And the fact that you say that they're mentoring the next lot of people coming through is absolutely amazing. Both examples that we've had today have been absolutely brilliant. I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
No, thanks, Fiona. I mean, I can't see any other hands up. I suppose my final reflection was when you were talking about those students with additional support needs, and I think that's really key. And it got me thinking about how we use or how we interpret data, and we've got to be really careful here, I think, because I mentioned earlier about the increase in S4 leavers. When you actually drill down into the data, those with additional support needs account for quite a lot of that, according to the latest SDS data. So that's not a good thing. But then actually, if some of them are going into these school college programs, that's good. So there's nuances around all of this, and that's what we need to be careful of when we're presenting this. The increase in S4 leavers, some people might interpret that as, well, that's not good. However, if it's because they're engaging in something that's keeping them engaged in education and giving them that future, then that's a good thing. And so I think in all of this with school college partnerships, it's always been that balance, and it's always found the nuance around that. Tori, you got your hand up there. Please come in.
Thanks. No, and it's just to kind of reiterate what you're saying there. As I said, I am Deputy FONS, but I'm seconded 2 days a week out to Falkirk Council as the DYW strategic lead. And one of the things we've been looking at is the amount of S4 leavers. And Gregor has really, really supported with this, because the young boys who are going out to mentor are young boys who wanted to leave school but either couldn't because they were Christmas leavers, and some of them had applied for college and hadn't been successful in getting into their course. So actually this mentoring programme was really supported via Oakridge, and that has helped keep some of these S4s on, and then they've used that now to go and work in like Tiger Construction. And from that they're going to get like their CSCS card, and whilst that's not going to go in insight tariff points and all the rest of it, it's about getting it right for these young people. And for some of these young people, that maturity has really happened since Gregor's seen them way back at the start of their S4 journey to now, and really nurturing that alongside Tony, who they actually refer to now as Dad, so which is quite, it's really, really sweet. But again, for some of these boys, that pastoral care, and I think we're seeing, certainly for me, looking at kind of the Falkirk situation at the moment, a lot of our S4 leavers are young boys. And this programme has really helped support keeping young boys on. And I think we've seen that massive maturity that they show up in my office when there's a young boy who's messing around and they come in and say, he's really upset the dynamic of this group today. And you're like, who are you? This was you in a classroom a year ago. So it's quite nice to see the recognition of them turning it around. And through programs that, these college partnership programs, that has allowed us to support S4s from not leaving. It's allowed to do that opportunity for them to mature, but also get a wide range of SCQF qualifications. So through the jam making, they're going to get their events, they're going to get leadership, they're going to get volunteering. God, what else? Something else as well off the top of my head. Customer service level 6 as well. So actually we're providing a real wide range through partnership with these colleges and agencies. And I have to say, I'm just so grateful to Gregor and all the team up at SRUC who have really supported with that.
That's just, I think there's some really key points in that. And actually one of the other success characteristics was that personalized approach and having the learner at the center. And what you've described is that, isn't it? Because it's about individual journeys traveled for everybody, and you've got to look to see how you measure that and what's the best way to show that for any individual. And I think when somebody's learning and they don't realise they're learning, then you're onto a winner, aren't you? When they don't realise that they're doing their maths, when they don't realise they're doing the teamwork, they don't realise they're learning all these other elements, and actually they are. And they're probably surprised at the end when you say, well, you've achieved this module and this other element. And they're like, well, when did we do that? And just realising that actually this is how it's used in real life. And I think that is enough then to draw and keep some people in as well. So can I just say thank you to all 4 presenters this afternoon. I thought that was really great, lots of information, ideas, and you can see those common themes between them that was leading to success. And so hopefully that will inspire and encourage others to do that as well. So I think my last task this afternoon is just before we finish, I'm handing over to Patricia Anderson, I think, who's just going to touch on some other points and then close for this afternoon. So thank you. Over to yourself, Patricia.
Thanks very much, Andy. Can I just check that my PowerPoint's come up on the screen there? Yeah, lovely.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Conscious of everyone's time, so this will be whistle stop. Thank you very much to Fiona and Donnie for inviting me along today. Really interesting to hear about the school-college partnership work that's going on. I'm so heartened to hear about the variety of opportunities for young people today. What I'm going to talk about is a slight aside to that, but hopefully very relevant to those of you who provide information, advice and guidance to young people in schools and those students at colleges who may want to progress on to higher education. I'd like to put a disclaimer out that I am not promoting higher education over alternative pathways. I very much believe in parity of esteem. So this information is for, as I said, for another opportunity to add to that complex matrix I think that Andy mentioned a minute ago of pathways and things. So yeah, I wanted to raise awareness a bit about what we do at SCAP and how you might be able to benefit. You can see on the screen there what SCAP stands for and our key aim. My colleague Jill and I are the SCAP team. We're mostly funded by the Scottish Funding Council, the arm's length body of the Scottish Government dealing with funding for colleges and universities. So providing that professional development opportunities for those who work to widen participation in higher education. I just want to clarify what I mean specifically by widening participation. You can see our definition on the screen then, and we use widening participation as an inclusive term to encompass the whole student journey from access to retention on course and success, as well as graduate outcomes from higher education. And as I said, we're not about promoting HE as a better offer, as we believe in various pathways and routes and parity of esteem, but it's about removing barriers and trying to increase representation of the demographics of society in the HE student population. So who's SCAP for then? You might be thinking, why am I here today? How is this relevant to me? And well, SCAP is for anyone who whose work relates to widening participation. We don't define the sectors or roles that we provide CPD opportunities for, as we recognise that many roles touch in this space and we couldn't possibly try and name them all. You may be a teacher advising senior phase pupils in post-school destination options, or a college lecturer working with students from widening access backgrounds, just as easily as you may be someone who works in a widening access team at university with participation or access in your job title. So what exactly are some examples of these CPD or professional learning and development opportunities then? Well, first of all, I wanted to highlight a free online resource which might be of interest. Our Introduction to Widening Participation in Scotland is a free self-paced online guide available on our website, which has been designed for any staff who may engage with underrepresented learners. I'm going to put a whole host of links in the chat, of which this is one of them that you're free to access at any time and dip in and out of. It aims to build knowledge and understanding of widening participation theories, which inform practice. There's a history timeline of widening participation in there, and it also covers past and present policies, for example, and explanations of underrepresented cohorts. I was thinking in relation to today, this may be of use, for example, to pastoral care or pupil support teachers in schools who are moving into or already doing the UCAS advisory role, in order to understand and be aware of the gamut of additional pre-entry support that their pupils could benefit from. More specifically, here's how I think how SCAP could be of use to you and your colleagues. Firstly, then, we have monthly insight webinars and Connect with Coffee sessions. We've had an insight webinar delivered by the SCQF before about different alternative pathways and qualifications, and I'm going to show some more on a slide in the next screen in a few minutes. Secondly, you can stay up to date with relevant developments through our communication channels like our newsletter, emails and LinkedIn. There is, under development at present, a resource which should provide useful to those who are supporting university applicants from underrepresented groups or backgrounds to find out more about the pre and hopefully the post-entry support at different institutions that could be available to them in future. It's going to be a database on a website that you can go in and search. For example, if you've got students from a care experience background, you could search care experience as the keyword, and it will produce a list of all of the different support pre-entry, post-entry for students who are applying and then on course who are from that underrepresented cohort. So it could be things like additional UCAS support or a named contact in advance of starting. It could be extra careers support once they are there, for example. I've already mentioned number 3, our Introduction to Widening Participation Guide, and we also have, which I've shared in the chat, our newsletter sign-up links, so from lots of different organisations which have newsletters which could be relevant to you or your colleagues. You can have a scan through that and see if there's any you want to sign up to. I said I'd show you some examples of recent events we've run then. These are our most recent insight webinars and Connect with Coffee sessions. The first one on there brought together maths teachers from across the country, the Scottish Government's national lead for maths, the Commissioner for Fair Access. There was a talk on dealing with maths anxiety, and some universities presented on their pre and post-entry support for students who don't have the exact maths qualifications on entry, in order to access things like engineering courses. And there was also chat around building the understanding of, for example, maths teachers or schools, and advising the links between the maths qualification and the courses they're going on to. The second session then, the Universities and Colleges of Sanctuary, was about support for students who are refugees or asylum seekers that universities and colleges can provide, and they can apply for an award which recognises all of the different things they have in place to support those students. And the Connect with Coffee session then, our Connect with Coffees are a bit more informal. They're a networking opportunity for people to find out others in the sector. They usually have a kind of focus or topic, maybe a short presentation, and this last one looked at what career services at universities across the country are doing to support students from widening access cohorts. Just got a couple more slides. These are the upcoming sessions that are all free to access, and the sign-up links are in the chat. The first one there coming up next week is should a network for professionals working with adult returners to education be set up. For example, that's going to be a conversation led by a colleague, Amy McDermott at Glasgow University, who's looking to consider setting that up. And you can see for colleges, there's an articulation focus one in February. We also have a colleges, it's not necessarily colleges, but we have an articulation chat thread set up for anybody who works in that space, looking to build the network or build the connections between colleges and universities for students moving on from level 7 and level 8, HNCs and HNDs, into second and third year of degrees, to get in touch with one another and to keep up to date with developments. So I hope that's provided an overview of how SCAP could be of relevance to you and potentially your college. The best way to stay up to date is to sign up to our mailing list, link in the chat. And if you have any ideas for how we can spread the word to others, teachers, college staff, etc., who would benefit from knowing about us, you can either email me at that address or put it in our anonymous suggestions form. Again, the link's in the chat. And please feel free. I've even drafted a wee email. Hope you don't feel patronised by it, but I know that time is precious for people. And just to kind of, if you wanted to share it, there's a quick, hopeful way of enabling you to do that. So thanks very much for your time tonight, and appreciate the opportunity to speak today. Thanks, Fiona.
I think you're on mute, Fiona.
Just for me to say thanks to everyone. So Patricia and Tori, Gregor, Brenda and David, and a special thanks to Andy for chairing the event and keeping things going along here. It's been a very enjoyable event, and I'm going to stop the recording, and you can get this, you'll be able to pick this up from our website in the next week or so. So thank you for your time.